And we're live. We're live. We're live. We're live. Yes, Dreamcatchers. Available at shoplivericher.com because you know I'm Vanna Black. So if you like a Dreamcatcher tea, you can go to shoplivericher.com and cap you a tea. Okay, I'm super excited. Are you guys excited? Because I've got our fave credit and home buying expert. I'm just trying to make sure I can see y'all over here. I've got our fave credit and home buying expert, Nativa, and she is going to answer your questions for week 1. But first, a little bit of housekeeping. First things first, look what came in the mail. I'm all late, you know, Black folks. This is what came in the mail. Live Richer Challenge Home Buying Edition. It is available on Amazon. If you just type in, if you go to Amazon and type in the Budgetnista or Live Richer Challenge, you'll actually see all the books. This is the 5th one, but obviously look for the orange cover. Whoop, whoop. This is the challenge step by step. It has all of the worksheets inside. This is a workbook. So if you're someone like me who likes to like write things down and keep it physically, this is going to be an awesome tool for you. It's the same challenge. You don't have to get it, but I know some people like to physically hold a book in their hand. Okay. 2, I have a little housekeeping because many of you are new to our Dreamcatcher Facebook group. And I just want to go over the housekeeping rules for the Dreamcatcher Facebook group, where it's our support group for this challenge, all the challenges, and all that we do as Dreamcatchers, okay? Rule number 1, keep it financial. The Dreamcatcher group is a financial group. So that means it's great that, I don't know, your baby learned to walk, but there's, I'm sure, a baby learned to walk Facebook group. That's not what our group is about. It's about personal finance. Rule number 2, keep it positive. There's so much negativity in the world, unfortunately, but we really try to keep the group as a safe space. Can you guys hear me? I just want to make sure. I didn't even realize. Okay. You can hear me? Someone just let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Can you see me? So rule number 2 is keep it positive. Like I said, there's so much negativity out there. We really just want to keep, you know, like our space, a positive space where you feel safe to ask questions. You don't know where someone, we've actually had people who were on the brink of giving up on life, like legitimately on life. I'm sitting at my job. I don't think I can make it. So you don't know if someone's question or post is like them on the edge, and then saying something snarky like Google it, girl, might push them over. So really it's a space of kindness, a space of acceptance. If you see something that's out of the way, report it, do not engage. The admins and the moderators are really good at de-escalating and removing. Okay. Rule number 3, no selling, soliciting, or self-promotion. That means everything from referral links, affiliate links, in the post or the comments, post about your business, going live or sharing your live videos. It's a group of giving, not taking. And I had been in groups where they've allowed people to solicit Saturdays, and it has taken over the group. And now the group is not useful anymore. It's just people looking to take from other people. So we do not allow soliciting, selling, or self-promotion. Rule number 4, and this also includes, that one includes inboxing members without permission, because that happens sometimes. You know, a member might say, oh, I need to get my credit straight. And then someone gets in their inbox and said, sorry, you needed to get your credit straight. Love to help you. Unless someone reaches out to you and says, hey girl, can you help me? That's fine, but like soliciting like that is not okay. People don't come there for that, you know? It's like someone, you're at Target and you're talking to your girlfriend, someone taps you on the shoulder and says, I sell that. And you're like, I wasn't speaking to you. People feel it's a little freaky, so let's not do that. And then rule number 4 is show your work. So I used to be a school teacher for over 10 years, and showing your work is just this. It's just, how did you get it? Yay, my credit score weighs 50 points. How? Girl, I want to know, shoot, you know? Yay, I just bought a house. How? Yay, I just finished paying off my student loans. How? Because we are here to celebrate you, but then also get like you, right? So those are the rules. So remember, keep it financial, keep it positive, no selling, soliciting, or self-promotion, show your work. Okay. All right. So now that we got housekeeping out of the way, so Nativa, so many of you, for first by raise of hands, I just want to say I did, because every day I've been reminding you in the daily task to Nativa, who is the expert of this Live Richer Challenge Home Buying Edition. She has these awesome freebies that she's created, and you'll see her beautiful face on this pink background, and at the bottom, it says, like, did you get your freebie? So 1, let me know if you got your freebie. Just say, I did. So if you didn't get your freebie, every day you're going to get a chance to see it at the bottom of the blog post that says, get your freebie. Get it. It's free. Hello. Nativa is a genius behind the home buying edition. I am not a home buying expert. I have bought homes, but that does not make you an expert. Nativa is the expert. That's why I asked her to come on. Two, Nativa has been getting a lot of questions from y'all. So she's going to go over those questions first. And then we're going to kind of review quickly week one. And then we're going to take week one questions. If your question is going to be answered in week two, Nativa is going to let you know, because we really want to make sure that we really stick to week one, because we want to make sure we have enough time to get as many questions in as possible. Okay. I'm going to hand over the mic to Nativa. Welcome, beautiful Nativa.
Thank you for having me. How are you?
Yes, no, I'm so excited to have you here. Honestly, I was like, if Nativa doesn't come on every week, we're going to be, me and the Dreamcatcher just going to be looking at each other like, hey, girl, hey. I don't know that answer. So I'm so happy that you're here. All right, so let's get this party started. So you said that you were getting similar questions over and over and over. What are some of those questions and what are the answers?
So that is one of the, actually two areas, qualifying income and debt to income ratio. So many were saying, okay, if I'm a W-2 employee, what is my qualifying income? It's your gross monthly income, gross. And so one of the things that I've been communicating for those of you who've been responding to the email messages that you're getting is when you think about qualifying income, a lender is going to look at your gross income. But while you're doing your calculations, it's totally okay for you to go by what you actually bring home, because they're going to approve you based on the gross. They're going to do all of their calculations based on the gross. They're going to do everything based on your gross income. And we want you to purchase something that's affordable for you. And so while you're doing, all of your calculations on how much house I can afford and all of that good stuff, it's okay to do the calculations with your net income. So that was probably one of the most popular questions. Well, why are they using my gross? What is my qualifying income? And can I use my net? Because I'm afraid that if they're going by my gross and it hasn't taken out, all the taxes and it hasn't taken out healthcare and all that good stuff, I actually want to use the income that I actually bring home. Yes, I actually recommend that. So to answer that question, absolutely, absolutely do that. And they are and I remember when I first got approved for a home, oh my gosh, I believe it was probably $275, and I was a realtor. And so at that time they were doing something called stated income, and that's a subprime type of loan. And that's not the type of loan that you want, by the way. And that's why the whole crash happened. But I just remember feeling really nervous about that. And when I did my calculations, and I didn't even know how to do it back then, I was like, okay, how did you do that? How did you figure it out? And I said, well, put this in. I told them what to put in. This is my net income. Forget the gross. Put this in and then tell me how much I should go up to. And so she was like, you should go about 235. I did 178. Like, I'm come way down than what you're telling me that I can do. So just keep that in mind. You don't want anybody else to dictate what you can afford. You want your own. That's why we're taking you through this. And this is why you have other challenges that are linked throughout the challenge, the budgeting, the credit, et cetera, because you want to make sure that you buy smart. And that's what this whole challenge is about. So does anybody have any other questions about the qualifying income?
Let's see. So qualifying income questions, let us know. Let me take a look. Stated income, what's that?
Okay, stated income is literally, I'm stating what my income is.
Okay.
That's exactly what it is. It's stating what my income is. So there are some programs out there now for stated income. I'm not a big fan of it unless you're like a high net worth client. Simply because, well, what happened is someone could come in making $12 an hour and a mortgage lender would say, well, just say that you make $5,000 a month and we can do everything off of that. And that's one of the reasons, as I mentioned, that the whole crash happened, because people were stating what they made. It was totally exaggerated. And obviously when the loans went to sell in the secondary market, it was crap loans. And so that happened.
Good to know. Okay. Let's see. And it's so funny what you're talking about the gross versus net, because when I first bought my house, they were telling me I could afford so much, but I was doing the math and looking at my finances. I was like, but how? Because I knew my take home didn't reflect that I could afford that mortgage month to month, So very important. Okay. Somebody asked, what is the freebie?
What is the freebie? So the freebie is a 5-day credit challenge. The freebie is answering some of the questions on debt to income ratio. And I also give you a lot of information, which is free, on why I prefer FHA and why people choose conventional over that. A lot of you guys had questions on the student loan concerns. So I just give you literally like 30 days worth of great free information to get you as empowered as possible in buying a home. So the freebie is like all of that. So you're going to get, the downloadables. You're going to get a free video challenge on walking you through how to read your credit reports, break it down, pinpoint errors so that you can know what's going to prevent you from actually getting the keys to your home. So that's what the freebie covers. So it's all of that.
So
and I always get freebies on Friday. So just like you get your goodie from, what is it, Wednesday?
Yeah, Goodie Wednesday. Oh, you do freebie Friday. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I love that. So yeah, do not miss out on that. So, and for those of you not knowing, we're talking about the freebies that every day that you get the email sent you to the blog, and the blog is the task for the day. If you scroll somewhere near the middle bottom, there's a picture of Nativa in the pink box, and it says "Get your freebies here." Click on that. It's not a new freebie every day. It's just that I know some of y'all is gonna take the whole 22 days before you click that thing and get your freebie. Okay. It's just at the bottom of each daily task. You'll see it at the bottom, like I said, bottom/middle. But literally, it's a pink box in Nativa's face, and it says, "Get your freebie." Okay. All right. Oh, look at Tiffany Douglas. She said, "Yes, Nativa." All right. So I'm inside the Literature Challenge Home Buying Edition, again, available on Amazon. And we're going to go over week 1. So week 1 was all about home buying goals. Actually, here, let me read. This week's goals is to learn home buying basics, including the methods of purchasing a home. If you choose a mortgage, learn how lenders review income and determine how much you can afford. So day 1 was home buying goals. So if you guys want to share your home buying goals in the comments, please do. Why is it important, Nativa, to really set your home buying goals?
Oh, you want to be prepared. And even when we take, we did intake kind of interviews when we sat down with clients, and the realtor is going to know what your home goals are. Your lender is going to know what your goals are, but it's better for you to come in so that you won't be steered in the wrong direction. As I mentioned before, I work with individuals who were in lower to lower middle income range, and those are the ones that are privy to a lot of what we call steering, which is illegal, but people still do it. And that's when they will steer you towards certain neighborhoods so they can keep other neighborhoods clean. And I always tell you to come in with your goals, you to come in prepared, you to come in knowing what you want, you to come in knowing neighborhoods that actually meet your in the bracket that you want to stay within. Okay. You know all that information beforehand. So you want to know your goals so you can know what you're working towards. Before you create any home buying action plan, the plan is how can I get from where I am now all the way to Z? So begin with the end in mind. I love that phrase. Begin with the end in mind.
Yes.
What you're working towards.
I love that. All right, so we're starting to get some questions coming in. Shanette says, DTI, what happens when you pay off a credit card and the account is still open? Do you include the amount available?
No, you only earn. So with debt to income, I got a lot of questions on debt to income ratio. So let's go there.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do DTI. We're here. Let's do DTI.
I actually have some. Let me try to pull some up. Let me see if I can actually get some while I'm talking to you. But your debt to income ratio, they're looking at your gross income and they're saying how much of this income is being taken away. Where is that income going per month? Like what debts are you paying for? Because remember, you're getting a debt when you're buying a house, right? And so you get a long debt. So this isn't like a credit card, which is ongoing. This isn't like a car, which is like 5 years. This is like, in most of you guys' cases, a 30-year commitment. And so they're looking at, what are the chances of this individual paying me back over the term, or at least until they sell, right? And so they're going to look at, where is this income going? And that's going to determine how much I feel comfortable lending to them. And then on the credit side, how are they handling the financial obligations that they currently have? Are they paying on time? Are they late? Are they carrying huge balances? Because then your risk kind of starts to go down the better you are. That's all credit is. It's the risk of doing business with you. So from a home buying standpoint, you're not going to include available stuff. You're just going to include what you're paying. And it's fixed stuff. So one of the other questions I got was on utilities and rent. They're not worried about as much as what you're paying on rent, except for if you go through like a NACA situation, they're going to want to know that. They want to know you want to pay. Are you paying it on time? Yeah. Are you paying it on time?
Awesome.
Does that answer your question? And if not, let me know.
Okay, let's see. Sasha asked, what's the best way to pay off credit card debt to improve my credit score to get it approved for a loan?
I like plans. And so when I'm looking at credit cards and credit card debt, I always look at what type of cards are they? What are the interest rates? And are there any special conditions like balance transfers that I would have to take into consideration?
Okay.
And so most people like low balance to high balance. And that's okay unless you have certain subprime cards. Like when I'm dealing with a client that has kind of low credit scores and they have these subprime cards, the interest rates is like 36%. There's no way in the world I'm gonna pay off something lower when I got this 36% interest. Like, we gotta get that out of there.
Yeah.
Or if I have a client with balance transfers and I know that it expires soon.
Okay.
And so I'm like, let's tackle that first. So first I just tell people to write a debt list and see what you're looking at. Okay. So you write the name of the debt, you write the interest rates, what the credit limit is, your approved amount, what the balance is, and then I want you to calculate your debt to credit ratio. And that's simply dividing the balance by the limit. So if you have, get my little calculator out, $250 balance. I don't know if you guys can see that. You divide it by 1,000. That gives you 25. So if you multiply that by 100, it is 25%. And ideally, and I'm gonna give you a little tip that I give the people who take my personal rent to home challenge. When you are working with the mortgage FICO score, it's going to look at how, it does focus on credit cards. It focuses on other home buying relationships, recent ones, and it also looks at your debt to credit utilization. How much of that credit limit are you using? And you don't want to be zero.
Okay.
But if you stay within 1 to 3%, which is super low, that is ideal. And if you've been doing that for a while, that's even better. If you've been doing it for a short period of time, it's kind of, your risk is remember, it's all about risk. You may find some lenders will say, ooh, you just paid this down. Now you're applying for a house. Well, I don't feel comfortable with this loan unless you close that card.
Okay.
If I close my card, my scores are going to tank. You see that? This is why you prepare time.
Yeah, you have, exactly. And this is why you do this. So that's another thing I just want to talk to you guys about, because it might, depending on when you're watching this, this is live early 2019. So you might be watching this, we might be during a recession, it might be after a recession, it might be before, and you never know. But as of right now, there is a potential pending recession, and you might say, oh, I don't know if I should buy a house now. And honestly, you have to make that decision for yourself. But knowledge is always a good thing. This is what this free home buying challenge is about, and why Nativa does what she does is because knowledge is just a good thing. So that way, when you are ready, you can make the best choices for you based upon what you know. And so, yeah, so I just wanted to put that out there, because I got a few messages of people saying, if a recession is coming, should I buy a house? And I said, it depends. Like, for example, I bought a foreclosure and we got a half off. So it made sense. But I don't know that I would buy a full price house right before a pending recession, with the regular, I don't know, because that's what I did last time and I lost it. But just to be mindful but there's no, like, people are guessing, but that last recession where I lost it, it was a home, it was the bubble, the burst was the real estate bubble. So it made sense for that, to be my real estate to be negatively affected. So the next bubble might be the student loan bubble. So it might not affect your house, So just making sure you're making the right choices for you, basically what I'm saying. Let me see.
Let me know if that answered her question, though. I always do very thorough. So
no, that's good. Okay, so so she already explained that. So some of you guys are still asking about DTI. I want you to go back to that page, because we really listed all the numbers that included in your DTI. There's even a DTI video. Let me see, your goals. Okay, is a VA loan in the top 5, like of the loans you can get?
I mean, a VA loan is an option if you're a VA, and I would totally go for it. I mean, one of the things that you're going to learn, and we're going to talk about more about VA next week, but you're going to learn that it's very lender specific. So FHA has very concrete guidelines. They have a full book that's actually, if you go on Google, you can get it. In addition to Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, who make up conventional financing. So with VA, they have their guidelines, but a lot of it is based on the lender. So the lender can go in and say, this is a limit we're going to accept for the not interest rate, credit score that we're going to require. This is a debt to income ratio that we're going to limit it to. This is that, this is this and this. So I know in the challenge we said it's 43%, but you're going to find, and that's not for VA, that's for FHA and conventional. And that just kind of gave you like an average, right? If you're going to find that a lot of community lenders are going to go over like up to 50% for conventional and a little shy of 56% for FHA. So you really want to, this is why it's so important to have like your credit together, your debt to income ratio as low as you can possibly get it, in addition to your savings on point, because then you can go in and say, yes, I qualify for VA, but what's going to get me in at the best interest rate, the best this, best that, since I have all of this together, and let them tell you, because right now, you know, conventional is 3% for those who qualify, but for VA, you can come in, you know, at 100% except for the funding fee. So we're going to talk about all of that next week. But the thing is, if you qualify, get all your stuff together and say, okay, I know I qualify for this, this, and this. Which one is going to give me the best?
I love that. So although VA loans, but yeah, it shouldn't be your default, basically.
Exactly. Start with the VA and then say, okay, because some people find that they're limited to how much they can qualify for with the VA because of their conditions. And so I've had a lot of people that qualified for VA, but ended up going FHA initially and then just refinanced out of it at a later time.
That makes sense. All right. Sheila says, if your spouse's credit is awesome, should he put the house in his name, then she could be a trust of deed. He has no debt and I have student loans.
Answer me if your goal is ever to invest in real estate at some time in the future. But the thing is, yes, I would definitely. We've always purchased in individuals' names, and that's because we knew what our ultimate goal was. Number one, I'm a huge fan of living on one income. We tried it initially with two. That's how I ended up in debt. We both were we.
Okay.
Things affected it affected all of us. When I couldn't pay something based off of the real estate market tanking, it affected him as well. I never wanted to be in that position again. Now, even when I counsel with my couples, I always tell them, let's live off of one income or at least one in some of the other income, and let's start creating wealth with the other income. Let's get you to where, okay, if he's ready right now and he can buy that house, perfect. Now let's get you on point and let's see if we can buy something in your name that you can start using as real estate investment, or let's just start building in your name and using your income to invest in stocks, to invest in, I don't know, something else, tax liens. Like I know Tiffany recently, didn't you recently buy a tax deed?
Yeah, tax deed. Yep.
So just splitting the income like that is so phenomenal to make sure that you're truly becoming that power couple. I think one of the main mistakes that I can't even say just minorities. I think it's a lack of thinking about our future selves and what we want. That we tend to live off of both of our incomes. We can live off of one and build, you know, and that way if something happens to someone, whether your illness, like what happened to me, whether unemployment that happened to him before, that you're okay because now that one income is still there to keep you afloat. And I know last week we talked about having that, I call it when it hits the fan budget, but you call it something more PC.
Yeah, I call it the noodle budget, the ramen noodle budget. we PG up in here. That's home buying edition after dark. Right? Yeah, no, definitely it's your noodle. So your noodle budget is basically if you have to eat ramen noodles, not get your hair done, not get your nails done, not eat out, like your basic food, shelter, that kind of budget. What is that? You should know. You don't have to live there, but you should know it so you can activate it if you need to. And then kind of like what your best life budget. That means when everything's going great. Boo got a job, you got a job, kids don't need braces, mom is good, dad is good, friends are good, kid, you know. So you should never, ever live at your best life budget. I don't care if you Oprah. Oprah makes 100 million. She should not be spending 100 million a year. Exactly. She should be around 70, 80 because that extra is meant to be saved and invested, you know, and then you're only living at your ramen noodle budget when absolutely necessary. Because I don't believe in over sacrifice. So typically you should be hovering somewhere between best life budget, ramen noodle budget. And depending on your goals, like let's just say you're wanting to purchase something soon. So you're going to get a little closer to ramen noodle, even though you're not struggling, you know, and things are really good. You're feeling you can get a little close to best life, but never to that to the very top. So just being mindful of that. If you're fortunate enough to have two incomes coming into the household, but you're right. So many of us, and I have made this mistake of living at my best life budget, forgetting that I'm an adult and that ish always hits the fan. At some point, something's gonna hit the fan. The baby's gonna be at school playing football, break his leg, and now you got to go to the hospital. The car's gonna break down. The boiler's gonna burst. Your mom all of a sudden is like, baby, I didn't tell you, but I've been behind on my rent, and you're like, something is going to happen as an adult. So you have to have that buffer, and living somewhere between the top and the bottom of your budget is going to be critical. All right, go ahead, Nativa.
I was gonna answer one of the questions that I got. I told her I would answer it during the Q&A today.
Okay.
And she asked me about her part-time income that pays cash. And so I know a lot of you guys, not a lot of you guys, but some of you might have a part-time job that pays cash, or that you kind of have a side hustle where you get cash from. One of the things about qualifying income is that it has to be documented. And so if you can't document that income, whether it's from, if you're self-employed, it's going to be your 1099s. It's going to be, some of them I ask for your business statements and things of that sort, or your W-2, bank statements. They ask for all of that information. So if you can't document the cash, it's not going to count. So that was one question. The second question was on overtime and bonuses. So with overtime and bonuses, you're going to need to, some of my clients had to have letters. Some lenders will call their employer just to see if those were going to be consistent for the next 2 years or so.
Yep.
So that answers that.
This is a good question from Marcy. She said, I went to get my credit score from my FICO and it gives me multiple scores. Which score does the lender look at? FICO 8, 9? What are they looking at?
You may have learned this next week on credit. I believe that's next week, but it's going to be towards the bottom. You're going to see something that says FICO 2, 4, and 5, I believe it is. And it's going to say the mortgage FICO score. The mortgage score is not going to look at the newer scores that are so lenient. And, if you pay your collection, it's not going to, it's going to be deleted, or it's not going to be factored into your scores. No, the mortgage FICO score is the strictest FICO score on the market. Okay. There are right now 65 versions. And then when the new Ultra FICO comes out, it's probably going to be about 75 or so, probably a little bit more. But the mortgage FICO score is no joke. You're going to need to have your stuff together. Okay. Stricter. Okay. But it's not impossible. You can do it. So many have done it using the tools that are inside of the Live Richer challenges alone. So, you can definitely do it. And it's following just the core basic guidelines. Make sure you qualify for a decent amount, but not use it. And that's for credit cards. Make sure you're not over qualifying for stuff. Most people with 760 credit scores and above haven't had an inquiry in like 4 years. Okay. So just make sure you follow those tips.
Denise asked a good question. She said, I lost my home in foreclosure back in 2009. Me too, girl. Which I had bought with a USDA HX loan. I want to know what that is, first of all. Does that disqualify me from getting another USDA RHS loan? So what is a USDA RHS loan? Do you know, Nativa?
USDA. So those are your more rural properties. Some people associate them with farms, but that's another really great product if you qualify. Unfortunately, where I did in the inner city, there was not that many. Okay. In the city, but if you're okay with the suburbs, if you're okay, I think it was one about maybe 45 minutes from the city for me for a house that I was looking at, and my client was able to get it approved. And it's a great program if you qualify. They do have kind of interesting guidelines, and we did cover it a little bit, but they have a website that's linked to it that is so thorough. I was just like, you know what, if somebody's really interested in USDA, get the finances together and then go on there. And we left all the links for you guys, and, a good summary for next week. Okay. So that you can, find out more information, but it's really, really good. But it shouldn't qualify you because so much time has elapsed. Okay. And one of the things that you want to find out is when your title was transferred off the deed. Usually only FHA cares about that, but some USDA and VA lenders are concerned about that too, not so much conventional. And I'm going to explain why, and I'm going to use my own personal experience. Okay. When we were looking at purchasing a home, I think this was maybe 3 years ago, and we went through foreclosure as well, and we had not been in the house for a while. Okay, we hadn't been in the house for a while. And so they said, well, 3 years hasn't passed because we were looking at FHA. 3 years hasn't passed since you were foreclosed on. We're like, what? No, 3 years been passed. Like, we've purchased home since then. It's been a while. And they said, no, 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 no. They didn't remove you from title till last year. That was like 4 years ago. And last year is when they removed us from title. And that's important.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, same thing happened to me. That I went to we bought a home 2018. So my husband and I bought 2 homes, so we bought them cash. And I'll explain because I know some of you guys are asking, so I'll talk more about that in a few. But one of the reasons why is because when we went to go look at traditional financing, they were like, oh, you're still like, at the time, I think I still had like 6 months on my foreclosure. I'm like, there's no way. Like, yo, I lost my house in like 2009. That's like 10 years ago. They're like, yeah, no, girl. Officially, you were still on. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, are you kidding?
And there's no guidelines that forces them to take you up. I'm like, why would you even do that? I don't know why.
Foolish. And so, okay, so for those asking you how I bought the home cash, so the reason why I'm not having a home buying edition, how to buy your home cash, is because it's not realistic for most folks, to be all the way honest. I wanted to create a challenge that regular, situations would make sense, something that the average person can make sense. I mean, I was fortunate that I was able to start a business, and all of a sudden I'm making more money than I ever thought. I mean, I was a preschool teacher for 10 years, and I thought I'd be a preschool teacher and then I might max out at $75,000, which is great money for a preschool teacher, but they were paying really well in Newark. I think at the time when I lost my job in the recession, it was like $60,000 a year what I was making, and $5,000 on the side tutoring. So I kind of made the home buying edition for like that, like what's realistic, because like, I mean, it's not. I mean, I think that what happened with me and the Budgetnista is not typically what's going to happen. So it doesn't make sense to make that base the challenge on that. So the way I was able to buy my husband and I were able to buy our 2 homes cash is one was a foreclosure. We randomly, I mean, there was no rhyme or reason. I can't say, oh, just go to this website. So I was looking at realtor.com like everyone else for a blip of a second, and maybe it was like 3 hours. This house was on there, and normally houses in the area where I wanted to live go for $350, but it said $180. So I was like, oh my gosh, I want to see it. Refreshed the screen. I went to go look for it, couldn't find it. But thank goodness I had taken a screenshot and sent it to my realtor. And so I looked for it everywhere. She's like, girl, let's go on. I was like, no, I feel like it's out there. Look. House pops up on this website called Realty Bids, like Realty Bids, BIDS. And so it was randomly there, and it looked like you can bid on it. And I was like, okay. And I asked all my friends who are investors in Newark where I lived, and they were like, don't nobody use that. I don't know what that is. So the bank who owned the house was in the Midwest. They had no idea about New Jersey or about Newark and about what websites that investors looked for when they look for a home. So they mistakenly put it on this obscure website called Realty Bids. I only found the house because I had initially seen it on realtor.com, which is very common, and did all this due diligence to find this house. Found the house, saw it on Realty Bids. They wanted 180, although the house was like looking at comps about 350 to 370. And so I had 180 only because the recession made me super paranoid because I lost everything, and I was saving every little like I was still driving my 99 Toyota Camry, even though my business was making 6 figures and then 7 figures. My husband and I still living in a halfway hood. Like, I didn't get myself another car, and even then I got a used car until my other car was like, girl, it's done. So I had the money only because I was hoarding, and so I had 100. Like, it's not typical necessarily to have $180,000 like saved, and honestly, it's honestly probably not even wise. So because like you should be investing that money, but I was scared to death. So when this house came up, I said, we have an opportunity. This is an investment. I buy the house for 180, knowing that it's going to be appraised for 350. So we could just sell it right away and get all of our money back, plus another $170,000, or we wanted to live in it. So that's what we did. We bought it. But like, you see how like I can't teach that lesson because I can't randomly say, hope one day a random house is going to come on realtor.com. They're going to take it down before anyone else can bid on it. They're going to put it on a random website that no one goes on. You're going to be the only people to bid on it because no one sees this website. You're going to win. And, 6 months later, after like fighting with the bank to get the deed and all this other stuff, get the house. It's just not realistic. So what is realistic is taking basic steps. And even when it comes to, so we bought a second home called the tax deed. And so that was just, the city has auctions, and oftentimes someone loses their home because they did not pay their taxes. And so this property was dilapidated. And when I went to the city, they had like a list of homes that we drove by, and all of them looked like crazy. But this home looked a little less crazy than the others. And all of the homes were priced for $10,000 or less. The city just wanted their tax money back. And so we put a bid on that house, not even a bid. We just said, hey, this is the one we'd like. And we were really fortunate, but it took a year to close, 12 months, every day. Hello, hello, hello to City Hall. So I don't know, you know what I mean? That's why I don't teach that, because it's like, it's not terribly realistic. What we're teaching is more realistic about how you'd be able to purchase a home. So that takes a lot of luck versus strategy. So I just wanted to.
Well, if they're living in that Noodle budget, I mean, the recession is coming up.
Yeah, and that's the thing about a recession. So if you're watching this and a recession is coming or it just passed, here's the thing that's so important, that when financial hardship is on its way, it is time to get as close to that Noodle budget as possible, right? So because when you do so, when a recession comes, things go on sale. Stocks go on sale, houses go on sale. My condo that I bought right before the recession, I bought it for $220. During and right after the recession, it was sold for $150. Someone got my condo at a $70,000 discount. So that's the thing that's so critical. That's why taking these lessons now, budgeting, savings, getting your credit together, so you could wait. Like, okay, if financial hardship comes, I have cash reserves, I've got the credit, I've got the leverage to be able to maximize. Honestly, great wealth is made during and right after financial hardships, right? So we're just preparing you for that. Okay, yes, timing is absolutely everything. And that's why we're teaching you this, because I can't teach you luck. Like that finding that house was a blessing. I can't teach that. But what we can teach you is the step-by-step of how to get ready. And then I was ready to buy my house traditionally. And then this opportunity came up. And because I was ready to buy my house traditionally, I was able to leap on these two opportunities. And so that's what I want for you. So keep your eyes open for those like random opportunities, but be prepared to go the normal route, which is what's going to happen for most people. Okay? See, there will be a replay. Yes, this is going to be recorded. It's being recorded as we speak right now. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so let's see any other things in the tip of some other questions. I'm gonna read. Sean says, do you recommend seeing a lender for the home buying process to see at least where you stand, and what should you be prepared to do, even if you don't plan on buying for a year or so, like a year or so away?
I mean, a lender is going to give you, depends on what lender you get to. And that's what the challenge is really allowing you to do. The lender is going to look at everything that we're going over with the challenge, but they're going to pull your credit. That's a hard inquiry. And some are not that good. So, I mean, I've had lenders give horrible advice. I've even had a couple of people, in my own Facebook community who were like, oh, my lender told me to pay off all my collections. I'm like, how old are their collections? Oh, they're this amount. And, I had to go back and say, well, you have to break it down. How much are their collections? They were under $2,000. And there's a rule in home buying that unless they have their own rules, remember we said lenders add on requirements. And so I was like, okay, so if you pay them, it's going to drop your scores, and it's unnecessary, and you have enough room within your debt to income ratio for that and include that if it's an issue. They don't have to include, okay, let me backtrack. So a lot of times lenders will tell you to pay off things. They will tell you to add on credit. They will tell you not give you anything and leave you more frustrated. So I would make sure you have a really good lender who knows credit and who's not just going by what's on their screen. Because they have a desktop underwriting system where they pull your credit and they kind of go through and see if you will be qualified automatically. That's why it's called an automated desktop underwriting system. And if you're not, it'll spit out why you were not qualified or if you would be qualified with these conditions. And so when they're reading those conditions, it's not always accurate. It's kind of like using, if you guys have ever used the score simulators or any type of simulator, sometimes you're like, where you get that from? Because it's wrong. Yeah. Somebody who knows that information. And that's why we're giving you this information. Yes. I want you to be like, oh, let me go see to a lender and let them tell me. You already know you're getting it.
Yes,
What
yes.
you tell you. So before you go to a lender, try to get it about 640 credit score. Make sure that anything over $2,000 that's a charge off, a collection, et cetera, that you can either dispute it off or that you can settle. Make sure that you're not focused on items that are like 4 years old. Make sure your debt to income ratio is super low. So if they have an issue with something in your credit, they can take a percentage of that negative amount and apply it into your debt to income ratio. One of the homes we bought with my husband's credit, we had, and I'll tell people all this time, we were not paying that repo. It was too much money. We were not paying it. And so our debt to income ratio was so low, and we had other assets that they were like, okay, well, we'll take 5% of this and including your debt to income ratio. And, the interest rate didn't move. So we were like, okay, let's roll with this because it's not getting paid, and it was deleted in like that same year. So okay, it's past the statute of limitations. It's past everything. It's almost past the reporting limitations. It's foolish to do so.
Yes.
So yeah, I would educate yourself first. Take it slow. Remember last week, I don't know if you watched last week's replay, I said to put everything in a folder or by the book. You always have the challenge if it's in the book.
Hello.
Work through it. This is your home building plan. So think, where am I now? Where do I need to be? So even if you have to draw a line and you say, okay, well, based on my financial, next week you're going to learn more about which loan type is going to match your financial situation. These are the minimum requirements. Let me bump it up a little bit. So most people know you can buy an FHA home for $580. You're not trying to do that. I want you to lock in there over $620, definitely. Because if any little thing happens when they pull that report, I mean, it can throw you off. So you want to make sure you're as close to that 648, or I prefer 640 plus, but some of you not going to rate that loan. But I prefer over 640, but at least make sure you're well above 620 on that mortgage FICO score that the other DC mentioned that she was looking at.
Okay.
So make sure that. So kind of go through. This is where I am. This is where I need to be. This is where I am. This is where I need to be. Everybody,
I love that.
Any of my classes, any of my home buying classes has said they gotten in front of the loan officer and the loan officer be like, oh my God, you're so educated.
Hello.
Who taught you this? This is why,
Nativa taught me.
And Tiffany and I partner with each other. So you guys can be like that too.
Yeah. So literally I am the Budgetnista. I don't know if you know, but Nativa is literally the Creditnista. Like, hello, come through. This is what we're doing. So you could be prepared. So like, I remember I took a first time home buying class and the gentleman said, the loan officer shouldn't know more about you and your finances than you do. You need to come to the table and say, this is what I'm like. And that, I mean, it's only the only thing that really kept me from really losing super hard during the recession is that I came to the table saying, this is what I can afford. This is what I know my mortgage can't be more than, my monthly payments. Because I took a first time home buying class, and honestly, it's what inspired me to reach out to the Nativa to create this Live Richer Challenge Home Buying Edition, because I had such a solid foundation and it helped me tremendously. Avery, real quick to answer your question, how did I find out if my title is still on the deed? So for those of you, like when you're purchasing a home, you want to make sure that the title is free and clear. I hired a title company. I didn't need a lawyer because I was bidding online. So I hired a title company to run a title search. So we ran a title search to make sure that it was clear. There wasn't all these other people who own. So for those of you who don't understand, so when you purchase the home, you get the deed, your name is on the title. It means that like this house is yours. But let's just say until you pay off your mortgage, the title basically belongs to like the lender, but what if you took out another loan? There might be multiple people who are like, before anyone else gets paid, I get paid. That means there's multiple people that title has to pass through. So I made sure to get, to do a title search. It was, a couple $100, but it was worth it to make sure that it was free and clear. And then we owned it since we paid for it cash. Now my husband's name is on that deed and on that title. So paying that extra money for the title company was critical. Okay, let's see. Just looking, does credit, okay, well, we know this is not, no, it doesn't, Consuelo. Does Credit Karma give you an accurate credit score report? If not, where is a good place to check your credit score? That's the closest that you can get to what the bank is going to give you the tip, like one of those free credit scoring companies.
There's not one for the mortgage FICO score that's going to be free.
Okay.
Not. My FICO is the only one that provides that mortgage FICO score. But my rule of thumb is focus on the data. Okay. And the reason why, we did the credit challenge together was because And that's what, your freebie does that. If you signed up for the freebie, then that will give you the exact criteria how to start breaking down your report, no matter which report. And I give snapshot examples in the videos of if you did a credit monitoring report, if you did Credit Karma, or if you did annualcreditreport.com. I'll tell you right now, the best data are the ones you get from annualcreditreport.com.
Okay.
The scores that's closest to my FICO, that's closest to the mortgage industry FICO score is going to be myfico.com.
Okay.
And it's an investment for them. They're like $30, I believe, or more.
Okay. So so Terry says, Nativa or Tiffany, is it okay to still do these weekly challenges even if I'm not ready this year to purchase? Yes, 100%. It's knowledge. You could always, you might read a book about, ancient French history because you're just interested in learning more. Knowledge can only always be edifying and increasing in what you know. So yes. Shireen, I want to know if it's a good idea to move in with someone that is looking to buy a home, split the rent, and save for a home. Yeah, girl. Hello. There's nothing wrong, like moving in with someone. So I'm assuming you're meaning that you're saving for a home, but you're not purchasing this home with a stranger, like purchasing a home by yourself. Yeah, saving money is always a good idea. Let's see. Tisha asked, have you ever heard of rentsavvy.club where you get credit for paying rent, or those credit? I've seen of those, like, get your credit score can increase by paying your rent. Have you heard of those, Nativa, and do they work?
You know what? This is why it's important to take a class like this. Do not add rent. Let me tell you something that a lender told me years ago at a community lender. I actually heard this on Steve Harvey by somebody I worked with that was in the mortgage industry, and I could have choked her on the television. Do not add your rent, because FICO does not score your rent except for the FICO 9, which hardly anybody uses right now. Right now, outside of mortgage, FICO 8 is the most popular. And remember, it goes by industry. So you have the auto industry FICO 8, you have the banking industry FICO 8, and then you have mortgage FICO 2-4. They call it classic FICO. So when you are adding rent and it's reporting as a rental payment, when FICO goes in and reads the data in order to generate a score, it's just going to skip it.
Okay.
It's not going to even look at it. So one of the things that community lenders will do, actually any lender will do, if they offer the FICO expansion score, which is how they build your score if you don't really have a solid credit history, they're going to add what they need to add.
Okay.
They're going to add your rent. They're going to add your utility bills. They call it unconventional or non-conventional credit. And they're just going to add that. You want them to do it because it's going right into their system, and and then it's going to get rescored based on their desktop. Remember, we talked about that automated desktop software that they have. It's going to be added right there. But if you add it and you're paying to get it added, you're wasting your money because FICO's not going to score it.
Okay, here's a question that came up a few times. Lisa, that's my baby sister's name. Do you have preferred lenders that you will recommend? So I'm going to say it depends. But maybe Nativa, you're like, so one of the things I will say is that when we were looking for lenders, what I did was I reached out to a bunch of realtors and people who were in the industry to see which lender. That's one of their assignments. Okay, there you go. You know what? What week is that?
That's the final week, but I go through everything.
Okay, good.
But that's one of your assignments. So I'll tell you this though.
Okay.
I always did the rule of 3. Who do I bank with? Who's in my community or the community that I want to purchase in, and then a company that'll shop around. And a company that shops you around is going to charge you a little higher fee, but sometimes they charge, I shouldn't say a higher fee, they get paid for it, a mortgage brokerage fee for it. However, when you have certain kind of spotty situations with your credit, they usually find you some really great lenders that you wouldn't really be privy to. The benefit of going to the bank that you bank with to see what programs they have. Normally, well, no, I won't say that. Like the Wells Fargos and Chases and Bank of America, sometimes they have community programs that they have, or sometimes they get free money for grants and all of that good stuff. But one thing that they will do if you go through them and you're a client, they'll, give you a free appraisal. Or they'll say, oh, well, you don't have to pay X, Y, and Z free. So they give you freebies because you're a client and you're also coming to them for your loan. And then you want to do a community-based one because they always, as I mentioned last week, they get like those grants all the time. The nonprofits and the community-based lenders are the ones that get all the free money when they become available for the city/states. And it's just, so they're always great. So that's my rule of 3 when it comes to finding the best one. As Tiffany mentioned, you want a referral, but you always want more than one.
Yeah.
Always.
And then too, also just looking to see who, because sometimes people have money. I remember like when I was looking, I don't know that they have this. I know that they don't have it like this now. MNC, like Mike and Tony,
Right.
MNC Bank. They used to be some other bank before, and they did some steering. I see some of you guys were asking about that, but Nativa talked about that earlier. And they were, well, not steering. They just were blatantly overcharging African American and Latinx folks more on mortgages. They got found out, and then their punishment was penance. And they're like, hey, if you are African American, like Latinx, and so Latino, and you're wanting to live in a majority African American or like Newark is a majority African American community. I think it was like, I want to say they were doing basically like I would get 6% cash back, not cash back. I hate to say cash back, 6% like down payment or any kind of assistance. So let's just say I was buying a house and there was a house I was looking at that was $300,000. So 6% assistance. So 300.
Lender assist.
Lender assist. Okay, so 6%. So that was $18,000 up to, I think it was like 18.5 or something like that. So they wouldn't do, you know, if 6% of the house was like $20,000, you wasn't getting 20,000. You're going to get 18.5. So MNT had that, but I only found out about it through the grapevine, just asking people, is there a bank that at this moment, and right now they don't, like that was literally not even a year ago, and I think that they lowered how much because they probably ran out of money. They probably, the government probably made them set aside $10 million or whatever it is, and they've run out of it. So, but sometimes banks will have things like that, and it's temporary, and it's just about asking questions of people who are in the industry, because whether it's your realtor's friend, another realtor, your friend that's always buying houses, your friend that's always looking at houses, whatever, and asking like, you know, are there banks that are currently offering lender assist, you know, because someone knows a friend who knows a friend who knows a friend, then you call the bank yourself. And that's how I found out about MNC. We ended up not getting a mortgage, but that's for who we were going to go through if we were going to get a mortgage. Let's see. You guys, we talked about NACA last week. So I see some NACA questions, but that was our last week's live. I'm trying to make the most of this week's questions to make sure. I'm just looking to see anything else. Let's see. I know you guys have a lot of credit questions, but in the freebie, right, Nativa, isn't that what the freebie is about, credit?
Yes, on day 2, day 1, I did the, hey, welcome, do this. Day 2, you go straight into credit. Day 3 is going straight to the debt to income ratio and a qualifying income.
So that we're not going to go over those questions as much, because at the bottom of every single task, so you get the email, today's day 5, click here, you go to here. It's the blog post explaining how to do that day's task. Somewhere in that task, you see a pink box, Nativa's beautiful face, and it says, get your challenge freebie here. If you get it.
Yes, and the PS.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, usually at the bottom. So like I think on day 1, it's like someplace in the middle, but literally every single day you'll see it. And then you're going to click on it and you'll get your freebie where Nativa like will go through. We really didn't want, because we literally, Nativa, this is our second time. We do stuff together all the time, but this is our second time doing a Live Richer challenge. And so Nativa, the way she's the expert on this challenge, she was the expert on the credit edition. So we have literally a whole Live Richer challenge credit edition that's just like this. There's a book as well. It's 22 days as well. And so that's why we didn't want to make this a credit challenge, because we have a credit challenge. Never has a credit freebie. You're going to get credit. We really wanted to focus on home buying, because you could always get the credit stuff from Nativa or the free Live Richer challenge on Home Buying Edition. But do one Live Richer challenge at a time, because it's 22 days worth of emails and you don't want to be overwhelmed. Let's see. I'm just trying to see. Okay, did we talk about rent to own, Nativa, and how you feel about that? We did last week, right?
A little bit. I'm not too crazy about most rent to owns. You really have to look over the paperwork really well and make sure that it's in your benefit. The issue that I have with it is not, I'm renting to own. The thing is, a lot of the sellers or investors make it to where they benefit the most. So you want to make sure that you have somebody who's qualified to read over that information that's not connected with that seller or investor, to ensure that it's the right thing for you. And see if you can back out if you find something wrong with the property, you find that you don't really want it, you want to out. So I prefer rent with option to buy.
So, Portia, you asked about how to avoid steering. Nativa mentioned earlier, the best way to avoid steering is to have done the research already and say, this is so I knew I live in Newark, but there were 2 neighborhoods that I wanted to live in. And so as I had my realtor, they might suggest a neighborhood. I'm like, cute, I'm not going there. So Forest Hill section, I saw a house. So the best way is to actually know what you want.
Exactly.
And so that's just the best way, because, because if someone is making all the decisions for you, it's like, even I'm getting my home renovated. And I love my designer, Rihanna. She's dope, of Remain Homes. So, Rihanna might be like, ooh, I so love this color. And if I'm like, but if I'm clear, like, this is how I want my house to look, then she, Rihanna can advise, but she's not going to steer me in one direction or another, because I'm clear about what I want. I've done my research on the location of the school systems. So you avoid steering by being clear about where you want to live and at what price, and then to do your own research. To me, your realtor is not like, I like to work harder than my realtor. I come to my realtor with, like, to me, I like to go to my realtor and just say, just open the door. Just open the door. I've done my research, because this is my house. I'm gonna live here with my boo and my kids and future kids. We're speaking that to existence, right? And so like, so I do a lot of the research myself. So I'm very clear, and they're clear. And it's okay to check a realtor. I went through 5 different realtors. I was like, you tried it. Next, I had to tell one realtor, look, boo boo. I didn't say that, but basically I was like, a house is going to be bought. Now, whether or not you benefit is your business. So if I don't feel comfortable in how you are, or how you are navigating with me, or how you're servicing me, then I'm just going to move on to someone else, because I'm going to buy a house. I've got the means, I've got the motivation, I've got the resources. So you can either get this commission or not. It doesn't matter to me. I'm buying a house. And so sometimes it's okay to check people gently. But yes, the best way to avoid steering is to stay ready,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're going to close with this. Is the process of buying a home different if you want new construction?
We answered that last week in detail, but essentially,
Okay.
new construction is, can be one of 2 things. You go buy the land, you build from scratch, or you go into a community that already has, the plans, and it's going to be built regardless. Then you can use any of the loan types to do that. So it really depends. If you're going to be buying a plot of land and building on that land and getting your own builder, et cetera, you're going to put down a hefty down payment in order to qualify for any of the loan types that we're going to discuss.
This is a good question, just about, like, for those, she said, this is Brenda Lee. She said, how do I plan to get funding for the renovation of your tax lead deed? So bought the house, the 180 house. It was worth 350, like, to say moderately, bought it for 180. We're putting work into it. I'm renovating. It'll likely be, I don't know, probably be worth about 4 something when we're done. Maybe, let's say conservatively, $400,000. But we're renovating, because, like I said, I was a hoarder of money, which is not a good idea necessarily, but because I was a hoarder, we're renovating cash as well. And so we're going to have about a $400,000 property that there's no mortgage, meaning this is like cash. This is a bank. And so for our tax lien, we don't have the money to another $200,000 is probably what it's going to cost to build that house up from the ground up, because it's a tear down. We don't have the $200,000 to do that, but we do have the $200,000 in this property. So you can either borrow money from, like, a bank, because the bank is going to look at us and be like, well, you're a safe bet. You got a property that's worth this. You don't pay us back, we just take your property. But even better is we're just going to borrow from the house. We'll pull out $200,000 from this house, pay for the tax deed house. That tax deed house will be a rental property to family. Now that tax deed house is going to be owned free and clear and giving us more rent every month, and then our house, our 180 house, $180,000 house that we paid for in cash. We're going to have a mortgage now on it of $200,000, but that's okay, because we can use the rental income to start to pay that mortgage down faster. So maybe in 5 years, we can have 2 houses owned free and clear, one that we live in and one that's a 2-family house, and giving us income. So let's just say a 2-family house, like, it's 3-bedroom. In Newark, where we live, 3-bedroom, you're looking at, depending where, 16 to 18, no, well, more than that, but there's a train coming near that property. And if that happens, $2,500 a month for a three bedroom, for easily. If it doesn't, $1,700 a month. So what is that? Like 15 times 15, just to be clear, $3,000 a month. That property can be giving us $3,000 a month. And maybe it's costing us like an overhead of, let's just say 500, because everyone's going to pay their own utilities and stuff like that. So that property could be giving us $2,500 a month that we could put toward our other home. But do you see how finances are not, they should be thought of in concert? So when I say in concert, I want you to think about like concert in the purest form, like an orchestra, right? So it's not just the violin. The violin has to not overpower the flute. The flute has to consider the drums. The drums have to consider. So when I'm making financial choices, I'm thinking of my financial choices collectively. I didn't buy that tax deed and be like, "Ooh, tax deed, yay, $10,000," because that's how much it costs. $10,000, yay. I had to really think like, well, I mean, yes, I could save 10,000, but how am I gonna pay for it? So you're wanting like as you're making. I've only grown to this, and that's why I'm teaching this now, because I didn't do this in my 20s. I bought a house and it was the wrong timing, and I lost everything. And so now, when I'm making decisions, my husband and I were just speaking upstairs, like before we went live, is thinking about, so what's our next move and how does it affect everything else that we're working on? That every choice you make is not an individual choice. It is a ripple. It's going to ripple affect the other choices. It's going to affect kids. It's going to affect your parents. Like you can't possibly know everything, but you're wanting to be mindful of the choices that you make. Because as you make these choices, because I get it, you want this dope house, but getting a mortgage up here is going to affect maybe your kids going to college. It's going to affect being able to get that car that's going to be safe to drive. You see what I mean? So you have to be mindful that like try not to go so big that you can't afford the other dreams that you have. It's okay to say, you know what, although this would be ideal, this is pretty cool here because it allows me to also do these things. So just being mindful of that. All right. Nativa, do you have anything that you wanna close out with?
Yes, if you don't mind, I have one more question.
Yeah,
Let's ask about student loans and qualifying income. So basically, a lot of you guys mentioned that you were on the income-based repayment plan, and you're wondering how they being the lenders, are going to look at that. And it does not matter what the income-based repayment plan amount is, even if it's zero, if you're considering FHA, USDA, or even VA, because they are not going to accept an income-based repayment plan. And even FHA and USDA don't even count deferred payment plans. So keep that in mind. They're still going to take 1% of that and consider that into your qualifying income in order to do your debt to income ratio. Who will accept it is if it's deferred, the VA will. If it's been longer than 12 months, so you've been in school for over a year, they're going to accept your deferment and not hold it into your debt to income ratio. And also conventional. And remember, I told you there are two companies with conventional, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And Fannie Mae is a more lenient one. And this is why I wanted you guys to know that information, because when they use a desktop underwriting system and they do conventional, you want to know who they're underwriting you through. And if you already know that you have high student loan debts and you're probably on an income-based repayment plan, you want them to use that. So you want to be like, can you underwrite me through Fannie Mae? Can you do that, please? So you can put yourself in a better position, but also do exactly what Tiffany just mentioned. As I said before, go by your net. And as she said before, making sure, because you get so caught up with the excitement of the home and, oh my gosh, I can't. And the realtor be like, oh, well, you can't get this in your price range. And I'll try to put you down. Well, what can I get in my price range? So, and doing your own research on realtor.com or Zillow, and just get a general idea of what the market is about, because there's so many places to go online and kind of get the feel of the market and what it's going for. And now you can look at pictures of what houses have sold for and what the condition was at the price point that you feel comfortable with.
Drive around, my husband was sick of me. Every weekend we was in that car. Like, let's go, baby. He's like, I knew like the two neighborhoods that I wanted. I knew every single street. I'm sure they thought we were like casing the joint. I knew every single street. Now, sometimes you might be moving across country, but if you're moving someplace that's within driving distance, drive the neighborhood. So when the realtor says, oh, there's a property available on Leslie Street, you know exactly where Leslie Street is. You're like North Leslie or South Leslie, And so that way you're very familiar. Like, so, I knew every house. I was on realtor.com, Zillow. It was fun for me to like look at homes because I wanted to get a feel of like what was a good deal and what wasn't a good deal. As soon as I walked in, I knew right away, this doesn't feel right. Getting yourself a good home inspector. These are people like, I found my home inspector quite honestly on, I think, Angie's List or Home Advisor, homeadvisor.com. And Nick, if you're in New Jersey, Nick, I can't remember his last name, but he is like some ex-military guy. He was like $200 more than everyone else, but his reviews were phenomenal. He saved us $320,000 because we were going to buy a house that we loved, 3-family. We were like, it's going to yield us $3,000 a month in net income. Nick walked the property, was like, yo, this house is sinking. I'm like, what? He's like, this house is sinking. It's not about if, but when. He showed us like the beams below. He was like, I've never said this in my history of inspecting houses. Do not. He's like, usually I'm just here to be like, it's up to you. Here's my report. He's like, do not purchase this house. He gave us a report this thick. When we looked at the foreclosure, we were able to get Nick in, although you're not supposed to, but we were able to. And Nick walked the house, did his report, and he was like, this is a great house. So these are people, we're going to talk about getting your team together. If you have a terrible, I see you, Glenda. If your realtor is not listening to you, you can drop him or her. Typically, they make you sign like a contract. Sometimes I learned after the first or 2 contracts that I signed, them, meaning like I'm going to only work with them for like 3 months. I learned not to sign it. So realtors moving forward, oh, no. You want to work with me? Don't want to work with me. Oh, I need you to sign. I don't sign an exclusive contract. You're either going to work with me, you don't want to work with me. And most realtors don't turn you down because, they're wanting to make money. So just don't sign an exclusive contract. If you have, you can wait it out as you look for homes. And then,
because remember, your realtor is usually not the owner of the company. And so you really are contracted to the broker. And so if you are in a contract, just tell the broker she's not working, assign me to somebody else.
Yep.
At least if you don't want to wait.
If you want to wait, exactly. So just be mindful of that. All right, y'all. Yes, Lord, this has been honestly, you guys have so many questions. That's why Nativa is here. Nativa, if somebody wanted to work, because it's a lot, right? So the home buying edition, we purposely made it like, nice and like in general, it's really great information, but everyone has specific things that they're like, well, what about this specific, situation or circumstance? What can they do if they actually want to work with you specifically?
You want to go to lrchome.mnhfinancialservices.com, and I literally have our most popular courses for home buyers or services right then and there. And what's great about all of our services is that it comes with us doing, it comes with my budgeting, credit, and home buying courses. And I also go live, me or a member of my team, every 2 weeks, and we're answering your more questions one-on-one. And that's the service that comes with any service that that extra service comes with anything that you sign up for. So if you're doing credit repair with us, you get access to that. If you're doing budgeting with us, you're getting access to that. And that's because we know that we're working with you one-on-one, but the goal is for you to be independent, to have the knowledge in order to take over and then spread. It's all about spreading that knowledge, applying it to yourself, then your immediate family, and then branching out from there. So all of our services come with that. And I am very affordable, I must say.
And the thing is too, like, so if you're like, oh, what is the LRC? At the, like I said, every single day inside the chat, inside the day's task, that freebie, that freebie page, if you keep scrolling, you see all of that extra stuff. If you want to really work with Nativa on that same page, right, Nativa?
Absolutely. On the same page, all you have to do is put your name in and then scroll down a little bit. And it even says, scroll down for service.
So it's right there. So if you are skipping over that purple box with Nativa's face on it saying, get your freebies, it's not just freebies. I'm going to update some of the language. It's not just freebies. It's like, it's also if you're wanting to work with Nativa. So click that link and you can learn further. And just real quick, I see you guys are asking about townhouses or condos. I'm a fan depending on, where you are in life. If you're someone who's like, I'm not trying to shuffle, or like, I always say this, if you are going to get a townhouse or condo, 2 things. 1, 2-bedroom or more, because 1-bedrooms are hard to sell. 2, what is the fee? Yes.
Negotiation fee.
That negotiation fee is everything. Because you might say, oh, the condo is $250. My monthly payment is $1,500. The association fee is $500. Now all of a sudden your mortgage is more like $2,000. You have to really be mindful and look for places where, because if the kids are not going to go swimming. You're not going to use the tennis court or whatever. You can look. That's typically what they're using your association fee for. So look for places where, now, if it's like, let's just say you were paying for a camp for the kids and hey, it's cheaper to pay this money than, sending the kids to camp, then, that might make sense because they have all of those things, on hand. So just like be mindful that could really, for some people, it might double what their mortgage is. So just be mindful of that. But like, yeah, I like, right? I mean, how do you feel about condos and townhouses? Purchasing.
When I've worked with elderly clients, I already know that they're either going to do a ranch or a condo.
They're like, I'm not going to walk up these stairs.
We just got to budget for it and plan for it. And then know what amenities you like, because there are even some houses that have association fees and what it includes, and what your budget is. Because remember, your qualifying income looks into it does a mortgage, the taxes, the interest, the insurance, and your homeowners association fee. So it can also reduce the amount of the overall amount that you're qualifying
what you can
for.
Yes.
So before
and Patrick, real quick, Patrick, he's looking like all these women. Patrick, welcome. We don't turn men away. I did start Dreamcatchers for women, but we don't turn. We have plenty of men up in here. Well, not plenty, way more women, but we don't turn anyone away. So you're more than welcome. The information given is financial information. It's the same for women or men. It's just that I'm a woman, and women tend to listen to me. And so, yeah, so you're welcome. Your husbands can watch, your boyfriends, your brothers, your cousins, invite them in. So yeah. So yes, thank you so much, Latifah. You have been such a jewel and a gem. If you are watching this in 7 days' time, we will be back to answer week 2 questions. So week 2, I'm like looking in the book. Week 2 is all about home buying requirements. Let me actually look up. Let me see. The goal is 37, page 37. I'm going to tell you what the goal for week 2 is, just so we're clear. It is to understand how credit plays a role in the home buying process and learn the eligibility requirements for popular home buying programs. So a lot of your questions you've been asking will be answered in week 2. Which starts tomorrow. Tomorrow, you're actually going to get a survey, because I want to see, are you learning? Are you doing the work? So you're like in the email, you're going to get a survey. Survey's going to take you less than 1 minute. It's like 5 questions. Yes, no, no, yes, no. And then after you answer the survey, it's going to take you automatically to day 8 of the Live Richer Challenge, Home Buying Edition. Thank you so much, Latifah, again. Thank you for everyone for being here. Yeah, this has been awesome. All right. Good night, guys.